Salvete, discipuli. Mi nomen est Magister Fennell. It's good to see you all. Okay, so this is week 3 homework guide for our Classis, Rubra, and I'm looking forward to it. Here we go. All right, first let's practice our memory verse together. So we're working on John 1 and 2 in Latin. So here we go. In principio erat verbum, et verbum erat apud Deum, et Deus erat verbum. Hoc erat in principio apud Deum. Very good. Now remember, you can play that as many times as you need to, so you can practice and try to memorize it by next week. Okay, now I'm going to go back over our slides from last class. Now remember, we spent a lot of time looking at the Imperium Romanum. Say that with me. Imperium Romanum. Roma in Italia est. Roma in Italia est. Say it with me. Roma in Italia est. Good. Italia in Europa est. Ubi est Italia? Italia in Europa est. Italia et Graecia in Europa sunt. Sunt. Italia in Europa est. Graecia in Europa est. Italia et Graecia in Europa sunt. Optime. Italia et Graecia in Europa sunt. Optime. Aegyptus, say that with me. Aegyptus, one more time. Aegyptus non est in Europa. Aegyptus non est in Europa. Aegyptus in Africa est. Aegyptus in Africa est. Now, in Aegyptus, in Aegypto est Nilus fluvius. Nilus fluvius est. In Aegypto est Nilus fluvius. Nilus fluvius est. Class, do you remember what a fluvius is? This is saying that Nilus in Aegypto, Nilus fluvius est. Danubius quoque fluvius est. See that long winding river at the top of the Imperium Romanum? Danubius quoque fluvius est. Can anybody guess what they think quoque means? Remember from class? Now, Danubius fluvius magnus est. Non parvus, magnus est Danubius fluvius. Let's say Danubius fluvius a couple times. Danubius fluvius. Danubius fluvius. One more. Danubius fluvius. Magnus est. Non est parvus. Optime. Nilus quoque fluvius magnus est. Nilus quoque fluvius magnus est. Nilus fluvius est. Danubius fluvius est. Danubius et Nilus fluvii sunt. Danubius et Nilus fluvii sunt. Do y'all see what happened there? Class, can anybody tell me? Danubius fluvius est. Us. Danubius et Nilus fluvii sunt. Fluvii sunt. Optime. And remember, Imperium Romanum magnum est, non parvum. Imperium Romanum magnum est. Optime. Okay, now let me give you a couple of hints on our homework sheet. Now look at this one. Number 1, word blank are the key to understanding Latin, not word blank, like in English. What do you think that those two blanks could be? Well, we talked about this in class. Remember we looked at sentences like Danuvius fluvius est? And we looked at each word, and we put them on the board, and we looked at what their English word would be. And we noticed that there was something different about the Latin and about the English. Can you remember what that was? Well, the thing we noticed was that if you put those Latin words in the same order in English, it wouldn't make any sense in English. Well, that's because in English we use word order to communicate function in the sentence. Whereas in Latin, word endings are used to communicate function in a sentence. And what this means for number 1 here, for our first principia linguae, is that word endings are the key to understanding Latin, not word order. Optime. Number 2, focus on blank to discover Latin's meaning, and furthermore, the meaning of all languages. This may be a new word for you, and I want to go ahead and give it to you as a freebie. We want to focus on context to discover Latin's meaning. Does anybody know what context means? What's actually interesting, it has some Latin roots in it. Con means with. Text is just what it is, text. Context actually means the text that is with a word. So think about when you are reading a book and there's a word in the book and you're not exactly sure what it means, what do? Well, the first thing you should do is look at the sentence that surrounds the word and look at the sentences that surround that sentence and try to figure out what that word can mean based on the meaning of the words that are with it. That's what the word context means. And so that is very important when we are trying to discover Latin's meaning. Okay, number 3. When reading, be patient. You don't have to understand everything the first time around. Blank is an important virtue of a good language learner. This is another freebie. Humility. Humility is an important virtue, an important character or quality trait of a good language learner. We have to be able to recognize our weaknesses and recognize the fact that we don't know the answer first before we learn things that are this hard. Okay, 4th rule, 4th principia linguae. Answers often explain questions. This is what I mean by that. Now, if I asked you the question, ubi est Italia? Ubi est? Well, I've never taught you what the word ubi means. Ubi. Let me write that for you. Ubi. Ubi est. I've never taught you this. But if I ask you, ubi est Italia? And then I tell you the answer to that question is Italia in Europa est. Italia in Europa est. Well, now can you tell me what ubi est probably means? Ubi est? This means, where is Italy? Where is Italy? Because you knew that the answer was Italy is in Europe. So that's what I mean. If you have trouble understanding what a question means, then look at the answer. Look at the answer to the question, and that may tell you what the question means. Now, number 5, you guys should know this one. I don't think I'm going to give it to you. I may give you one of them. Number 5, Nilus alone is called flui. Anybody know? Nilus alone is called fluvius. fluvius. But Nilus and Rhenus together are called, anybody? Fluvii. Fluvii. Can anybody tell me why? You remember why? Because if we have more than one us word, then we drop the us, we take off the us, and we add the long e sound. So fluvius, it's one fluvius. More than one is fluvii, fluvii, optime. Okay, now here are some exciting homework questions, and we only have one page. You've got one page, and I have a English roots exercise for you that I am actually going to let you try to do all by yourself this week. So let's get on with our homework questions. So for these first questions, we're going to have to decide if the blank should be filled in with est or sunt. I hope you guys remember when we use est or sunt. We use est when the subject of a sentence is singular, and we use sunt when the subject is plural. So, number 6, Italia in Europa blank. Well, is the subject of the sentence singular or plural? Italia. There's just one. There is only one Italia. It means singular. That means this subject is singular, and we would use est. 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 Very good. Okay, let's go to the next one. Italia et Gallia in Europa blank. Well, let's look at the subject. Italia, okay. Et Gallia. Ooh, okay, so there's two. There are two different countries in Europa. So if there are two, if their subject is plural, then what word do we use? Sunt. Optime. Optime. Very good. Okay, I want to challenge you guys. Number 8, 9, and 10. Numbers 8, 9, and 10. I want you to try all by yourself to see if you can figure out which sentences should use est and which sentences should use sunt. Okay, so let's get down to some of these Latin questions that may be a little more difficult for you to figure out. So let's dig in. Ubi est Roma? Ubi est Roma? Ubi est? Roma in Italia est. Roma in Italia est. Remember, in the Imperium Romanum, in Italia est Roma. Optime. Ubi est Italia? Ubi est Italia? Italia in Europa est. Roma in Italia est. Italia in Europa est. Optime. Esne Hispania in Europa? Esne Hispania in Europa? Ubi est Hispania? Ubi est? Ecce, Hispania. Esne Hispania in Europa? Hispania in Europa est. Hispania in Europa est. Let me write this one out. You can say it with me too. Hispania in Europa est. Good. Very good. And now, ubi est Suria? Ubi est Suria? Ubi est Suria? Suria. Ecce Suria. Suria. Suria in Asia est. Suria in Asia est. Notice Suria in Asia with a long ah sound. The macron over the a vowel at the end. Suria in Asia est. Number 15. Estne Germania in Europa? Estne Germania in Europa? Let's look at this map to discover this answer. This is the Europa we know. Gallia. Remember Gallia. Roma. Italia. Now look at this. Germania. Germania. Now look at this. Here is the Danubius fluvius. Ecce Danubius fluvius. Just above Danubius fluvius is Germania. Germania. Germania in Europa est. Germania in Europa est. Optime. So, este Germania in Europa? Germania in Europa est. Germania in Europa est. Optime. Optime. Okay, now for this last section, we have to look at these sentences and figure out what the correct endings should go into the blanks. Corsica in su blank est. Corsica, is that multiple or is there one Corsica? There's one. So what ending should we use? We should use a. Insula. With just the a. Insula. Now, let's go to this next sentence. Corsica et Sardinia. Oh, there's two in this sentence. Corsica et Sardinia insulae sunt. Insulae. Everybody say it. Insulae. Insulae. Optime. Okay, last two. Brundisium opid blank est. Can anybody remember? Brundisium opidum. Optime. Brundisium et tusculum opida. Opida sunt. Yeah. Brundisium et tusculum opida sunt. Optime. The last one, number 18. Nilus est fluvius magnus. Magnus. Remember? Nilus est fluvius magnus. Magnus. Non parvus. Magnus. Fluvius magnus. Very good. Okay, students, I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.